Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Stalktober special event from the heart of the Jakuls. As always, I'm your skilled host, Lothran, and there's just a bit of toil left to be done, so let's dig through it, shall we? Hurry up and grab the snack on your mind. Snatch the best seat in the house. Get all warm and cozy and listen carefully to In the Fires of the Forge. Ito fled, retreating as fast as his legs would take him as shards of molten hot, shattered, blasting bits of stone hung as if from cords all about him in the air. He wasn't fast enough. He'd never be fast enough. Estradja slashed with a hand drenched in a blade of Ito's own golden energy, stolen from the strike meant to damage Ito's opponent, turned back upon its creator, just as foul, even sharper and more efficiently deadly than he'd ever intended. Ito kicked the hand away, stumbling backwards, throwing his palms at the myriad of blows leveled towards his skull. An elbow hurtled like a meteor, impacting against his chest. Ito cried out unbidden, even as he flung one hand toward the ceiling, blasting to push his body against the floor and roll quickly to his feet. He jabbed hateful, hungry, golden lightning right into his chest. It was always a little better when he did it than if he let Estradja have the chance to torment him further. You're a little better. Fiercer. Less kitten, more old house cat. Estradja giggled towards his pupil. Ito spat black blood from the corner of his mouth, wiping it away with a wavering hand, heaving his breaths as he pulled the energy up from the deepest and darkest depths of himself. You still have a little fight left in you? Estradja began to walk, slowly encircling his prey. I was sure I'd squeezed all that out in our fight earlier today. Estradja settled into a calm and ready fighting stance, barely even glancing at his charge. Ito launched himself at his foe, silently striking with both hands. Estradja dodged as if Ito were moving in slow motion, barely seeming to care. Ito released his invention on his teacher, the golden blade bursting from his palm to stab into the flesh of the other being. He'd let the grab on his throat there to allow this impact to have any chance to hit. Estradja's face appeared at his hip, gazing into the blade with wonder. You finally managed to figure this out. I've seen the pieces form for this for so very long in your mind and your actions. Then, to Ito's horror, this Estradja dodged away as Ito tried to blast him with the cone of force and light, a third teacher's fist slamming into the side of his head. Ito flew through the air once more, pivoting with a blast of brilliant golden force, to land on shaky feet, his hand up defensively. His blood trickled from a fresh cut on his forehead. He'd put up the shield and secured his floating brain to keep himself from being concussed, but the drain on his reserves. Ito fell to one knee, gasping. I can do more, he muttered before he vomited up purple blood. If you say so. We can go a few more rounds today. Your lightning or mine. Estradja handed himself a small glass of steaming hectap with grace and flair, bowing to his other self before sipping the delicate brew straight from the heart of a hive. Ito didn't want to expend any more of his energetic stores than he absolutely needed to, but he also didn't want to experience another blast from his tutor. They got worse each time, a sign of Ito's growing powers within himself. The power rebelled a little harder each time with exposure to the source of another such being's resonance. You should do it. Ito shut his eyes against the torrent of suffering that was about to strike him. Estradja walked calmly to his side, calling forth a perfect black bolt of lightning from the tip of one finger. Ding! And Estradja appeared and uttered the sound, halting the other's steps. Really? So soon? The new arrival nodded, turning to walk back the way he had come. Estradja let the bolt dissipate from his finger. Gather yourself. Oh, he marched right past the struggling form of his student. Follow after when you recover. Ito took his time, listening to all of the slowly, careful, receding steps down a hall that had been forbidden to Ito till this very moment. He got slowly back to his feet, forcing himself not to support his body on the wall. Estradja hated such displays of weakness. It took almost falling lurches down the impossibly long stone hallway several dozen times, lights erupting into brilliant life as he entered their territory and fading into glum darkness after he made his wicked progress and passed their uncaring gaze. Eventually, Ito managed to jumpstart his inner resonance, feeling the warmth and swirling energy burst into an impossible flame within the very core of his being, his limbs healed and refreshed over time. Turn that down, please, Estradja called back to Ito without turning to look his way. Ito's jaw dropped open. Estradja had his arms thrust into the solid yet watery, rippling surface of a slender, incredibly elegant hive. It was gold and red and black, its eyes deep red, dark, penetrating eyes, its borders shimmering insane golden light, the main color of its octahedron body blacker than any material could ever truly be. It robbed the surrounding surfaces and its own borders of light. The hue was so thought-pilferingly, ravenously dark. He's watching us, the hive spoke, 6 rail-thin legs emerging from its floating body to support it while Estradja carefully worked his hands inside of this fantastically odd creature. It tilted to get a better look at their guest, narrowing triangular eyes Ito's way suspiciously. Estradja laughed while clearly shifting his hands in some delicate procedure. You get so bashful and coy sometimes. Stop making fun of me, the hive pouted, but revealed a set of arms to protectively wrap around her boo, with great care and love behind the motion of the embrace. You'll like it, Estradja continued, his endless streams of jabs and jibes. The hive was more than a little visibly upset for a moment, but then it calmed, allowing the long seconds to pass, with Estradja wrapped comfortably in those arms. Estradja slowly stood up, pulling forth his hands to hold them close to his chest. The process was going on before you got here. Would have waited another eternity for something so as important as this. Estradja's voice was faded and quiet and serious, like it had never been before. The hive began to evaporate in upon itself, shifting and transforming into a small, thin, even more elegant and graceful, bipedally stretching feminine boo scale-covered form. She mirrored in look and design of her much taller, more heavily muscled husband, having a curve of hips and bust, and not caring to hide an ounce of her magnificently delicate body. I'm Elia. She reached out her tiny hand toward Ito. Awestruck by her beauty, her radiant, preposterously perfect in every imaginable way existence, he had no idea she was even beckoning to him. Is he broken? Did you beat the only witness to this momentous occasion senseless, even after I specifically asked you not to? Her voice got more than a little flustered towards Estradja. Her husband turned a forceful stare toward the woman, until she turned her large, curving yet still triangular eyes toward her tiny little feet, finding them oh so much more interesting than her husband's Claire. I'm sorry, sir, she apologized. He tilted her head back up with one hand and kissed her lightly on the lips. Elia beamed right out of her sullen mood. May I? She reached out to the tiny wriggling prize in Estradja's other arm. Estradja let her take the tiny jet-black bundle from its resting place upon his palm. Estradja embraced them both, kissing the smaller and more slender, reflexively bending forehead plate of Elia beneath him. I thought, Ito began, you said... He didn't know where to begin. I may have beaten him a little too often, a little too hard. But you know how I am. Estradja laughed towards his wife. Ilya nestled against her husband's chest, protecting that precious bundle. How? We, us, our energies clashing. You're growing, and that energy in you, some of it being stolen by me, and more of it being forced out. This form is new, hers as well. This, Estradja gestured all about them in the tiny chamber. It insulates us, kept us safe while I made as much energy as I could to sustain us. Now, with the conflict from you, Nikon, my son, we are made new as none have ever been. Estradja pushed his way into his wife's protective limbs, resting a gentle hand upon his son's head. Sleep, new being. None know the name of our kind yet. Maybe one day, one such as you could perform such a mighty task. And so it is, we've come to the end of our time together once again. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I have. As always, I've been your humble host Lothran, and this was In the Fires of the Forge, another tale right from the heart of the Jakuls. But now I must hand you off, so that Korvoth can once again guide you out the path to safety. Go ahead, young Jackal.
A pleasant hello and a fond farewell to each and all. Please leave your comments, questions, and kindnesses down below. None of that awful, rude, terrible, or mean stuff, though. You keep that to yourself. Remember to like, share, and subscribe to help us learn, spread, and grow. Don't forget, we strongly implore each and every one of you to perform at your absolute utmost. To stay safe out there. Good night and good luck, everyone. You'll need it. Bye-bye, 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 bye-bye.